Toulon come out on top in a crazy game at the Stade Félix Mayol. My name is Mark, let's talk rugby. This was an absolutely bonkers game between these two. And, it just started as it meant to go on, really. So, Sarries put up a speculative kick into the Toulon 22. Two defenders there, let it bounce between them. Angus Hall gets in between them to claim it. He gets turned over. Toulon then decide to spread it. I think it was Jaminet then gives a pass over Juan Martin Gonzalez. I think maybe Isa dropped it. And then basically, the ball is right there. So Gonzalez just picks it up and flops over the line to score the opening try of the game. That's converted for 7 points to 0. Then some questions to the referee from Toulon, thinking that they had advantage, when they were spreading the ball, but they didn't. The referee just said, listen, there was no penalty. You actually turned the ball over. They thought they had a penalty for holding on, but no, they turned the ball over. So why would there be an advantage? Then Toulon hit back straight away, spread it in midfield. Garbisi kind of juggling with a poor pass from White, then just kind of palms it on to Jaminet, who slices through a hole. Then he puts Vainicolo over to score. Jaminet converts it for 7-all, makes up for his involvement in the opening try, and then the early scoring just doesn't end. Gonzalez goes storming into 22, brought down just short of the line. Then he offloads to Tompkins to score, and a great carry from Theo Dan earlier in that move. Burke converts that for 14 points to 7. Sarries then offside, and Jaminet makes it 14 points to 10 from the tee. You kind of forget that there was penalties in this game because there's so many tries. But then shortly after, Sarries off feet, Jaminet calls to the tee again, this time from halfway, and he nails it 14 points to 13. Sarries then smashed Toulon in a scrum on the edge of 22. From that platform, they spread it, and Ollie Hartley goes through a gaping hole in the midfield and under the post to score. Just too easy there, converted for 21 points to 13. Toulon not done gifting Sarries tries. Isa turns the ball over close to his own line, but then as the ball kind of goes behind him, so he turns around, kind of scoops it towards his own line, but not towards his own player. And I think Jaminet is there again, and he can't get the ball, so Sarries players swarm him, and then Gonzalez in to score again, converted for 28 points to 13. Sarries then, they're back, they're pounding away at the line, and they've got penalty advantage. Burke attempts a little chip in behind and comes to nothing, so we come back for that penalty. Theo Dan taps that, and he goes. After a few phases then, they get held up over the line, and Toulon, that was probably their best period of defence in the game, probably the best period of defence from either team in the game, because there wasn't much, honestly. Then from the dropout, Theo Dan smashes his way into the 22, then offloads for Franzil to scurry over under the posts, converted for 35 points to 13. Toulon then go to the corner from penalty. Sarries drive them all back, but they hit them while the man was in the air, so we're playing penalty advantage, but they don't need that. Isa goes over to score with the help of Gros, converted for 35 points to 20. Toulon then have the wind in their sails. They come into the 22 again, sucking the defence on the right. Then they go left where they have numbers, and Jaminet gets over to score, convert for 35 points to 27, and that's only half time. Into the second half then, clever kicking behind from Good, clever kicking behind for Toulon. That forces Good to step into touch close to his own line. Toulon go to the maul from the line out. Sarries drive it towards touch and drive half over into touch, but Toulon keep the ball in play, spread it, and then go through the phases before Alan Usay, I think, gets over to score. The conversion is missed, 35 points to 32. Toulon then drive scrum, penalty advantage, and Isa goes off the back, offloads to Serin. Then he gives a pass, like kind of out the back of the hands type deal, to Abadi, who can't hold it. Should have been a try, maybe a more sympathetic pass, and they would have been in the lead. But they got penalty advantage anyway, so they go to the corner from that. Line out misfires though and allows Saracens to clear. Toulon then attack from the subsequent line out, after Sarries had kicked it, and they move it into the 22. They shift it wide right, and Jamine goes over in the corner, but we have a TMO check. There's a forward pass from Gigiashvili, so it's no try. Toulon then keeping the pressure on, monster Sarries in a scrum, and then Isa goes off the back. He smashes into contact and almost makes it to the line, but knocks on. But they had a scrum penalty again, so they go to the corner from that. Lucchese passes off the top of the line out to Serin, and they move it in field. It's hit up in midfield, and then after that, then Isa barges his way over. Toulon hit the front for the first time, 39 points to 35. Serin then Gerber kicks a 50-22, and Toulon back on the attack to go through the phases after that lineup. And Isa spots Sarries just have no pillars at the ruck, and he just goes through a big gap and over to score. And that was his hat-trick try, converted for 46 points to 35. Toulon then finds space wide right. Villiers exploits it to break into 22 and passes inside to Fuinganuku, who scores behind the post, converted for 53 points to 35. And it's hard to call game over, but at that time, I was thinking it's a crazy game, but it does feel like, maybe Toulon now have this one. Sarries though do hit back once. They come up the other end, have an extended period in 22, and then Hadfield goes over to score, converted for 53 points to 42. Then another Toulon error gives Sarries an attacking position as they kick out on the full, from a ball passed back into 22. And this felt like maybe Sarries had, a chance of an actual comeback. Toulon, though, win a penalty for holding on. Still looking shaky at that stage. And, the comeback not off the table quite. You feel like if Sarries had been able to put on a bit more pressure, they might have actually been able to come over the top of them. But it's Sarries then who give Toulon a try. They mess up a line out and they're on 22. Toulon spread it left and Jamine goes over in the corner. Great hands to move the ball so rapidly for that one. Conversion missed, 58 points to 48. Then Villiers breaks down the right. He has Serin in support, who goes over in the corner from his offload, converted for 65 points to 42. And then Tuisevu, he was the one that actually sent Villiers away on that break that led to the Serin try. And then he gets over for a try of his own, converted for 72 points to 42. And that was the final score. And now we can all breathe, because that was a hectic game. It was a fun game for the most of the game, because it was close. But then when, towards the end, when it became a blowout, then it was still like I'm not going to say entertaining. It was still kind of some nice rugby to watch, but any kind of jeopardy was gone from the game at that stage. But let's have a chat about the stats, and then we'll just very quickly talk about each of the teams, because I'm trying to get this done in between this game and the Leinster game that's coming up next that I'm obviously going to be covering. So let's pull up the stats here and let's refresh the page. There we go. Okay, so tries, 10 tries to 6, so 16 tries in the game. That's just a crazy number for a game. Like the halftime score could have easily been a high scoring full-time score. That's how crazy this thing was. Then from there on attack, so 530 meters made to 341. So Toulon, once they got the big runners going, like they found it very easy to make meters. 133 carries to 111. Clean breaks then 16 to 7. A lot of those clean breaks for Toulon came in that second half when they had Sarries beaten. The Parents beaten 35 to 17. Offloads 15-10. So many offloads leading to tries as well. Passes 144-95. Possession and territory 50-50 for the game, and it's not surprising given how back and forth the game was. Onto defense then. Tackles made 131-128. Tackle success 80% to 70%. So defense was optional for much of this game, honestly. Turnovers won 6-3, and that's kind of the difference. Slightly better tackle success for Toulon and more turnovers as well. And at points, I did say defense was optional, but at points they did produce some decent defense when the game was still close. Lineouts then, 13-1 for Toulon, 6 for Saracens, so 93% for Toulon, just 67 for Saracens, and misfired a line out. They had at least one in attack, and then they had one in their own 22 that led to a Toulon try as well. So set piece not great for them. Then scrums 5-4, 100% each, and both teams at times really got the push in the scrum and won penalties or had penalty advantage. Kicking then, kicks from hand 18-26. Kicking meters 647-660. So very similar in terms of the meters made, but you can see from that Toulon a lot less kicks. They were kicking longer for the most part, and some very good kicks as well, finding space and putting pressure on, turning that Saracens defense at vital moments. Retained kicks then 2-3, and then onto the breakdown. So rooks 77-81, 2 rooks lost for Saracens, and then 97-94 rook percent for the teams respectively. Next then mauls. Mauls not a big thing in the game, 6 for Toulon, 1 for Saracens, 100% each, and then 6 meters to 1 was the final of that. But I'm not sure if the maul meters are right, honestly, in this, because it always seems like the meters gained is always the number of mauls that you had, which is a bit suspicious, honestly. Then discipline, penalties conceded just 2 for Toulon, which is amazing discipline, and then 9 for Saracens. This is actually bad because, again, we always talk about trying to keep your penalties in single figures. Now they just about kept it there, but still, in another game that might have been enough to win them the game. And the lead they had as well, they were 35-13 up at one point, 22 points lead, and then they end up losing by 30 points. So a massive swing in the game, and it was a lot of it was to do with the fact, well, first of all, Toulon gave them a big lead, but then also the impact of the bench was massive. But we'll talk about the teams now. So Saracens, left out their English stars and probably couldn't believe the luck with the start that they made. I thought Theo Dan was outstanding for them, but they allowed Toulon to close the gap just before the break, and I think that gave Toulon the momentum that they needed into that second half. And then Saracens really fell away when Toulon hit the front, and the impacts of the benches, was very different for both teams. Toulon then, they did gift Saracens so many tries at the start there, and it should have been dead and buried. But once they got on top, it then became just quite easy for them. And I thought Serene off the bench was really good. He drove them forward, not taking the foot off the gas. And then Secundo Issa also just absolutely fantastic throughout. And there were a lot of good performers on the Toulon side as well that really helped them to turn that game around. But whether they can give that kind of lead to another team now, probably going to be going away in the quarterfinals, is a different thing completely. But for them, they're just going to celebrate the win today and that's next week's problem, really, right? Is the quarterfinal. But congratulations to them, and yeah, a very, like, for the most of the game, very entertaining. If it had become a blowout a bit earlier, it probably wouldn't have been, because like you don't really want to be watching the team winning by like 30 odd points, with no chance of the other team coming back. But the fact that it was late in the game that it became a blowout, and it swung so much, did make it a very entertaining round of 16 game.